You are free to go.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, welcome everybody. It is Tuesday, February 2nd, and it's 5:01, and we can call this meeting of the Water Allocation Committee to order. Roll call, please. Lesley Llantero. Lesley Llantero, are you there?
Yeah, I was muted, sorry.
Okay. Lesley Milton.
Here.
Thank you. And Gloria Stearns. So all three of us are present. We have a quorum. First, I'd like to open it up for public comment. So if anybody would like to make a comment on any item that is not on the agenda, but still within the jurisdiction of the city of Seaside, you're welcome to do so at this point in time. Would anybody like to make a public comment for an item that is not on the agenda? I'm not seeing any hands raised. Madam City Clerk, did we get any public comment on?
We did not receive any comments in writing prior to the meeting.
Okay, super. All right, then we keep going forward. Number 4, we're on to business items. All right, so tonight we have WAC by AUG LLC, Bob, pardon my pronunciation, Bob Piniak, property owner, and Costco Wholesale, Kim Katz, Barkhausen Consulting Engineers, Inc., Julie Anderson, applicant and property owner for the allocation of 0.146 acre feet of water for the Costco gas landscaping and restroom located at 4 Gary Plaza at the northeast corner of Del Monte Boulevard and Auto Center Parkway, APN number 011-523-018. Yeah.
Water Allocation Committee, application 21-02, like you stated in the intros, for Costco gas located at 4 Gary Plaza. The allocation request is for 2 items that make up the Costco gas station: the irrigated landscape areas and the restroom. So below in the boxes are from the Water Management District's form. The restroom is only 56 square feet, is only for employees, not for customers, and that is assessed as a group 1 auto use, equaling to 0.004 acre feet of water. And then the irrigated area, the water district in the last month reviewed the landscape plans because Costco found out that they had a meter on site. And the estimated total water usage for that project is around 46,000 gallons, and that is a 0.142 acre feet of water. And that, I believe, is under a group 3. The applicant completed the commercial point form. The revenue generation, they weren't able to get the information for the property tax. So they used it just based on the revenue generated from the gas station itself, maxing out at $350,000 for 7 points. The jobs creation will create at least 1 full-time job for 5 points. The project is on Del Monte, which is a major thoroughfare, and that gets them 5 points. And removal of blight, property is currently vacant, and that gets them 7 points. The business retention item was filled out at 7 points, but that is for projects that, if not approved, would result in the loss of an existing business. I'm not certain if the Sand City Seaside confusion of where the actual Costco retail store is located versus the gas station came into play, but the total points, even without that 7 counted, still gets them above and beyond the 20 required, bringing them in at 24. So again, if we say that those 7 points don't count, that 31 points goes down to 24. Still, in accordance with the ordinance, projects receiving 20 points are awarded water for the city's commercial water category, and there's a subcategory for the auto center. The total available in that fund, if we want to call it that, is 3.249. And if this project is approved, there will still be a balance of 3.103. And staff recommends that 0.146 acre feet be allocated. Staff would also like to note that the committee was provided with amended conditions of approval that reflected the correct ordinance and code sections. So please state that in the motion if there is one to approve the project. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. Does the committee have any questions for staff?
Gloria, I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's regards to the revenue generation. How did they come up with 35 million for the total revenue generation? Is that strictly the gas station?
It's my understanding that it's strictly the gas station. The applicant is here so they can talk to that. I asked them for that information. And it's not something that they necessarily want to share exact numbers on what they have, but I told them to run comps on a similar gas station in a similar area with population and potentially a tourist draw.
Does anybody else have any other questions for staff?
I do. I have a few questions on this. So this is defined, you're recommending the water allocation comes from the auto center properties and not the small commercials. That's correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I guess when I saw this, I thought I was a little bit confused because I remembered at the planning commission meeting, there was an active discussion about the lack of water on site. And there was the condition of approval built in that they needed to do something, find an alternative solution for the toilet, a potential composting toilet. There was no water for irrigation. And I know that at the city council meeting, it was represented and codified in the adopted resolution saying there was no water necessary for the allocation of this project. So can you explain to me, I guess I'm just struggling with, it was represented to the council, there was no water necessary, but now they're asking for water. What changed?
Right. So imagine the project comes forward, you go through all the entitlements, which doesn't necessarily mean that there's somebody on site. They were assuming that there was no water available, that there was no meter on site. And then when they went out to the site and began construction, they discovered an irrigation meter. And they changed the ownership of that meter, which now means that yes, there will be potentially an allocation for them, but it's also their alternative was to truck in water from somewhere else to water the irrigation and to provide water for the toilet situation.
Okay, so because we had told the council and it was approved by the city council with no water allocation, are we authorized to, I guess I was struggling with whether we were authorized as the water allocation committee to be able to approve this. City council.
You have the condition in front of you. Can you read what it says? Because if it says that the project is approved without the need for water, it doesn't necessarily say that the project cannot be issued water at any point in the future.
Well, I don't see any condition that says, hey, in the future you can. I mean, there was one condition that may potentially, the only condition that I found that potentially could allow it is condition number 16. The issuance of building permits involving the installation of new water shall be subject to the availability of an adequate supply of water and sewer capacity to serve the project. That's just a standard miscellaneous provision in there. But I guess I just am concerned that it was represented to the council there needed no water. They approved it understanding there would be no impact to the water allocation. Yet now we're coming back and asking for a water allocation. But you explained to me that, there was additional circumstances that have allowed for the water. I get nervous about our authority here if the council's already made a decision.
So I had a comment on that issue. If they would have came to us having had a meter and requesting water, and they met the point system, we would have approved it. And then what was the action taken at the city council level? Was it to approve the project?
Yeah, it was approving the use permit to allow this project. Yes.
Okay, so we would have approved it knowing the point system that we have, and then it would have went through the process. And I think this is just a oversight that that wasn't caught before going to the council. So
And I believe typically the use permit would have been reviewed at the planning commission level, but it was reviewed at the council level because of
Lost you, Beth. Beth? Beth, are you there? Beth, we've lost you.
right now.
Yeah, I hear you now.
I just added that the reason why I believe the use permit went to council was because it was also being done in conjunction with a code amendment. So both those discretionary actions were approved by the higher body versus breaking it down and letting the planning commission approve the use permit, as would happen now if a business were to come in there with the code amendment already being done.
Well, the planning commission did approve a condition of approval in some form because they made a recommendation in their motion that included some sort of solution for the toilet situation. So I just remember a robust discussion at the planning commission where they provided a specific level of direction because of the lack of water. Robust discussion at the council level because it was represented having no water. And I just get concerned that we may not have the authority to overturn that decision.
Yeah, my understanding is that it's not that it was about a lack of water, but it was about the lack of a meter. And if there was no meter on the site, then the potential for this project to happen and for the revenue that it's generating to come through to the city wouldn't be possible. But that's where the composting toilet came in. That's where the trucking for the irrigation came in. When they went onto the site and they found that a meter actually existed, then it kind of enabled them to do things, if we want to call it quote unquote, the right way.
But does that require us to take it back to the city council?
I don't have the documents in front of me that you have. I would say if there wasn't a condition of approval that specifically said that there was to be no water issued for this project, then maybe that's where my concern would be, but it's your decision if you want to send a recommendation forward to the council regarding the potential approval of this water allocation.
Good evening. If I may, this is John Ellingsen. I'm the development manager for the project for Costco. Perhaps I can shed some light on the matter and the questions, if I may.
Sure.
So the project was designed without the use of water, and that was all in response to the moratorium and the lack of a meter or a known meter on the property. So the discussion around the solutions there, we had gone from the use of the facilities back at our warehouse and then bringing in water for the limited landscape xeriscape that was being provided for the property. But the intent was that as soon as the moratorium was lifted, that at that point we would go back and retrofit for an employee-only restroom. So the plan was to provide an enclosure that would allow for that conversion at a later date. So once we started construction and we discovered this meter, we did our due diligence to determine if it were usable and for both landscape irrigation as well as the restroom. And so that's why we're before you here this evening, so that we can go ahead and make that conversion now rather than taking that interim step of whether it's a composting toilet or some other measure there to provide that for our employees.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Okay, and I just wanted to make it very clear on the record. I'm really supportive of the project and I see how far you've come on the development of it, and I would hate to see it stop right now. I think it definitely, according to the point allocation system, it's exactly in alignment with what the city council policy is. I just get to, there's an issue of public trust when we as staff bring something to the planning commission and the council in one direction, and then we have a wholly separate board approve a second modification to it. And I just want to make sure that they're consistent so the council doesn't think we did something, or the public doesn't think that we did something underhanded. So I guess under condition 16, it gives us one, maybe it was included specifically for this provision or this example. New water shall be subject to the availability of an adequate water supply and sewer capacity to serve the project. So at the time of approval, it did specifically state that there was no need for, it would be served by existing water and wastewater on the site, but it left it open a little bit for any changes. So thank you for clarifying that and reminding us. I just want to make sure that we're preserving the public trust on that.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Anybody else from the committee? So one thing that I'm thinking of as we're talking about it is if there's a concern about the public trust, we could issue a letter of communication to the other bodies that saw this project and update them on what we did, if you would choose. That would be something that we could do just as a communication to them, so that way they know what happened at this meeting and why we did that. So if people felt that that would be something that they would want to do on this committee, I'd entertain that as part of the motion if you wanted to do something like that. Or we could take that up as part of staff communication for item number 5 on our agenda. So any other comments or questions? All right, I would just like to say to the applicants, I was involved with getting your project through the other approval processes, and I'm pleased that it's come this far. It's kind of a pleasant finding to find a meter on your property, and that's a good thing to have happen. So I'm hoping that we're able to find a way to have you move forward tonight, and I welcome if anybody would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve this use permit application or water allocation application 21-02 with the amended conditions of approval that were provided by staff earlier today for this permit, and requests that we also include a communication to the Planning Commission and the City Council for the modifications so they're aware of the project status.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion that's moved and seconded. Let's just do a roll call vote. Lesley Llantero.
Aye.
Lesley Milton.
Aye.
Gloria Stearns. Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations to the Costco team.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.
And thank you. We look forward to you continuing your progress on your site.
Great. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
All right, item number 5 is staff communication. Does anybody have any staff communication items?
Hi, this is Lesley. Is there a way that we can show a running total at the end of each meeting? So there's an idea of if it got approved, how much is left in the allocation for water?
I think you should be able to. That's just a simple spreadsheet. Beth, do you think your group could do that for us?
Yeah, it might get repetitive depending on where we're taking that from. But we typically show, like I did today, where it was taken out of and what remains if approved. But if you want every category, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of every category, so then you see exactly how much is left in small commercial, how much is left at each site, and just so you can see if that can include ADUs as well. I don't know the status of those.
Sure.
I'd like to request that that be included in the staff report and not just at the meeting, because I was trying to go through and locate that information today while I was reading the information to be prepared. So if it could be included with the packet, that'd be great.
Also, maybe previous actions, like normally nothing would happen, but if you have some history on the project like this, I was unaware it went to all those other bodies. And if we can just have like a little background update, if you know the update of the project, if it already has a building permit pulled, obviously it does, and like just a little background of where it is in the project, in the approval process.
Yeah, we can incorporate definitely the running total. It would be easier to print that as a page as an attachment versus trying to.
I think I lost you, Beth. Beth? Well,
Are you there?
yep, you're back.
Okay. I created a template today, so the conditions of approval have fillable forms now. We're updating a lot of things. The running total can definitely be included. It's in an Excel document now, so it'd be easier to include it as an attachment, as like a printed sheet versus trying to format it into Civic Clerk. And then regarding the background on these projects, we're attempting to narrow the information down as much as possible. We do not want the water allocation staff reports, unless we're directed otherwise, to turn into a 4-page document. We'll see how that goes in terms of just providing the information needed for your decision.
On that note, I just think it's more important that we have information on the history of the project. Water is kind of a politically contentious item right now, as demonstrated at the last city council meeting. So the more information we have to be able to make an informed decision, I think will be in all of, be in the public's best interest.
Right. Yeah, even if it was a short summary of what happened, that would be useful.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Anything else that anybody has for staff communication?
I just wanted to say thank you to staff for, putting this together and making sure that we can push these projects through. So thank you for what you are doing. I'm sorry we're asking you for more. You're doing a great job. Let's just keep up the good work.
I just wanted to ask about, is it possible to get a standing meeting on the books so that coordinating who can attend with other meetings are not conflicting in the future? Is that something we can look at?
We could look at doing that. Maybe like once a month we check in or something. Beth, how often are you seeing water applications that would require a water allocation committee meeting?
It's difficult to say. And in this situation, it was more a race with their building permit and then the water management district getting involved.
Yeah.
So once a month, I would think would be okay. But there will be times where it's urgent and maybe we are available.
That's understandable. It's just that I think we went through an ordinance revision that said about our committees and commissions that we'd meet quarterly unless, necessary. And I didn't know, I don't think water allocation was included on that because it's a staffing meeting. But maybe we can have, it used to be every Wednesday at 10:30, but I realized that you need public comment and after 5 is the time was chosen. I just think that we should look at like Tuesdays at 5 on the 3rd Tuesday of the month or something like that, or the 2nd Tuesday of the month.
I would agree with that, just for members of the public, because they ask, since we've gone to the quarterly meetings and all the commissions seem to be on a different schedule. So I'm constantly getting questions going, I don't understand when the next meeting is going to be, and especially if we're only publishing it one day beforehand, I think that's going to be challenged. It's not going to make us look very good in the public perspective, especially since one of the council members wants more transparency on the water allocations.
Okay, so Beth, can you figure out which day and do like a poll with all of us and figure out which day works best for us? We can just do that all via email and and get a standing meeting. And then if we need to for special meetings, we can do that as well.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, so with that, item 6, anybody have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Have a good
Aye.
evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good evening. Thank you, Beth. Have a good evening.
Thank you.